Welcome everybody. And we've got a very interesting panel coming up now. It's quite a mix of people. I'm going to introduce them to you now. So over there to my right is Paul Cocksedge, who's co-founder of Cocksedge Studio. Beside him is Yonatan, co-founder and CEO of Kano. Then Liam Casey is here beside me, founder and CEO of PCH. And then Hassell, head of Consumer Experience at Airbnb. So all panelists have been very much involved in designing products that consumers love. Some of them you'll be more familiar with than others. So I might actually start with you, Yonatan. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background as a designer and how it's led you to designing electronics?
Well, I'm a frustrated wannabe designer. I'm not really a designer, but I started, my first kind of experience with consumer was when I was in university still, and we thought about developing stickers for sneakers that any kid can design on their own, and we would mass manufacture. We worked on it for a year, only to realize that, one, I don't want to sell stickers, and two, I don't know how to run a business. Funny enough, I'm back in the business of customization and stickers, but and then I went to work for the CEO of one of the largest plastic consumer products manufacturers in the world, a company called Keter that ships over 250,000 containers of plastic products, furniture, houseware around the world. Moving fast forward, met my two co-founders, Sol Klein and Alex Klein, and we wanted to build a computer that anyone, anywhere can build and code themselves. We called it Kano. We started with a prototype. We thought that there is a need for what we're trying to build, which is a powerful, simple, and fun way to make and play with technology in a way that anyone can do it. We introduced it on Kickstarter almost a year ago. We asked for a modest amount of money, which $100,000, because we wanted to make about 1,000 units. We've hit that goal in 18 hours, and we finished with $1.5 million 30 days from almost 14,000 people in 86 countries, including the founder of Kickstarter and Steve Wozniak himself, which we're still waiting for the feedback from him. And straight after Kickstarter, my co-founder and I took a flight, which was delayed, but we still took it, to Hong Kong to meet Liam. And then we spent 12 hours with Liam, after which we decided to work together in bringing Kano to the world. And a month ago, we've shipped our first product to almost 20,000 people in 86 countries. And with the help of PCH, we didn't just mass manufacture our first computer, but also delivered 98% of the units that have been bought by people, which I think is a pretty solid achievement considering the past experiences of Kickstarter projects. And I'm just really happy to be here.
And Yonatan, that's the product there in front of you. It's the orange is the color. It's not a mix of colors. You went with that color. How important was design? Your is it between 6 and 14 is the core age group? How important was design and color and the design of the actual hardware product itself?
Yeah, well, I think it's always about kind of you're making something and you think the choices you're making, they make sense for consumers. You get feedback, but you always try and stretch yourself, and this is why even the fact that we're 25 people at the moment with only one designer, we still look at ourselves as a design company accidentally making computers. It's the color scheme that goes across the books and the content and the website and the operating system and the packaging, and we've spent almost a year getting the product, giving it the experience and the out-of-the-box experience that it led us to receive a photo, which I've shared actually with Liam a week ago, which is a father from the US who sent us a photo of his kid, and he basically asked us to send him another package, an empty package. And the reason for that is because he forbidden his kid to go out with a computer, but he allowed him to go out with the packaging. So the kid didn't leave the package, he slips with the package, and it's completely torn apart. So now he needs another one. So I think the journey, which I'm sure other people here on the panel can share about building a lovable brand, we feel really privileged to be able to say that already the unboxing experience made both the parents and the kids, the users, fall in love with the experience, with the brand, with the color, and kind of identify what they feel with the actual product.
Can I bring you in, Paul? Your background's a little bit different. Can you just tell us a little bit about that combination of you started in sort of industrial design, am I right, and then kind of went more into pure design?
So I've been, I've kind of devoted my life to creativity. So I've been kind of designing for 13, 14 years. I studied industrial design at Sheffield Hallam University, which was very much kind of find a problem and solve it through kind of industrial design, so kind of technical thinking. But then I went to the Royal College of Art to do my MA, and art is the important word there because it was a very free-thinking environment where I could paint, I could be making metal work in foundry, I could be kind of writing, or I could be building sculpture. So these combinations of kind of technical thinking and artistic thinking is how our studio runs, and it's about ideas. So we follow ideas and they end up in many different directions. So for example, we're designing a restaurant in Paris, we're doing a big sculpture in Shanghai, and we also do electronic products as well.
And in the context of
Sure.
today, I suppose the electronic side, can you tell us a little bit, crowdfunding comes into the story
Sure,
as well,
sure,
am I right?
So I brought something to show you. So on the way to work, I kept on seeing these old speakers, and I thought they just looked so beautiful. And they had these post-it notes on, and they said, "Please take me home. I'm still working." And I started to collect them. And in my studio, there was like a wall of these speakers, and I wondered, why are people throwing these speakers away? And then you see the success of products like the Beats by Dre and the Jambox and these amazing industrial design products. And I realised that people want to communicate with speakers in a different way. And so I thought, I can't just let these speakers disappear. So I designed this little thing here. It's called the VAMP, and it sticks onto the speaker like this. And what it does, if I can do a demo. So here we go. So, I was so inspired because in 10,000 speakers a month go to a recycling centre in the UK. So something had to happen, and we designed the look of it. We kind of understood the electronics and did the prototype. We made some phone calls to our friends in the industry, and we had some good feedback, but there was a confusion because the brands who we wanted their logo here didn't like the idea of being connected to other brands. And I said to Joanna, my business partner, I said, "This is crazy. How can this be?" So we used Kickstarter as a way to test it straight to the consumer, and we not as successful as you, by the way, but we did pretty well. We made £110,000, which is pretty good for a UK Kickstarter, and we're now in production, and it's been a joyful experience.
Amazing, it's incredible, the story. I love that idea as well, and is it something that is kind of close to your heart, that idea of the new meets the old and the recycling and the sustainability of not just always?
Yeah, I mean, there's a texture here. There's every product is different because you attach it to something that you have or you find in a charity shop. So this is not the product. This is the product, and I like that. That everything is becoming the same. Every iPhone looks the same, and sometimes every person's interior looks the same, and it's kind of, there's a worry there. So this is not going to change the world, but it gets people to think in a slightly different way. As does your product as well. We spoke about how you connect your monitor to your computer. So yeah, it's
fascinating. I love it, I have to say. Ashley, I've put you in an awkward position because you can't pop anything up on the table to show us. But I think it goes without saying, Airbnb design is very much at the heart of design, and design when it comes to customer experience and what the consumer sees and feels, and the vision of the company. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that? Am I right that the two founders would have driven that from the beginning?
So the founders were still founder-led, and the founders came from the Rhode Island School of Design. So they are industrial designers as well. Kind of, Brian tells the story of how he designed inhalers as one of his first projects. But what they brought to the idea they had, which was basically to create this marketplace for people to rent out rooms in their houses, was born out of a need when they kind of blew up an airbed in their flat in order to pay the rent. When there was a design conference in town in San Francisco, and they came up with this idea of like, wow, we really enjoyed that, like having people come who have like interests, and we got along great, we made lifelong friends, and that's what they kind of commercialized with Airbnb. But they're designers at heart, and we're a hospitality company led by 2 designers. But we're obviously very technology focused. Like it's a technology company in a sense, in that the platform and all of the components around the platform are what build the experience. But for any of you who've been onto Airbnb's website or use the app, you can see the aesthetic that runs through it. And the aesthetic it permeates everywhere. So it permeates every single decision. So we have a core value called every frame matters. And it means that it's not quite to the Steve Jobs level, but it does mean that the founders are part of every design process, and there's a question and a conversation about every decision around the experience that a customer will have. And then that even permeates the employee experience. So we have a special team called Ground Control, and all they worry about is how the experience is for employees, and that includes the environment. So if any of you have come to our offices or will come, you'll see that it replicates the brand. And so our conference rooms are mirrors of listings, and so that whole design ethic and the design philosophy goes across the company. So from the very start of why it was founded to what we evolve into, and the rebrand that we just went live with in July, it's all very centered around design, but with a very functional back end.
And it's funny that obviously has an effect of your whole team. I mean, even the chill-out room was really cool. I really loved that.
Did you like the chill-out room?
Yeah.
Did anybody use it?
Yeah.
Did everybody use it?
Yeah.
That's the
Like that
majority.
lady over there, Sarah. So I'm glad to hear.
Well done. It looked great. It looked great. And that idea of including, talking to the consumer and that consumer-led design. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, my role in Airbnb are all the customer-facing service operations. So one of the things that we have are a customer voice team. And the customer voice team sits within operations, but their sole function is to take all the end user feedback, and that comes from employees as well as customers, and feed that back into the product group. And the goal is really to have continuous customer-led innovation and improvement. And it works really well. It takes a lot of effort, because I think many of you here are probably designers and engineers, and it's very hard because you get stuck into kind of what you want to build, what you think you've heard customers want. So it's always a continuous process, I think, to make sure that you are hearing the voice of the customer at every stage in your product's life cycle, not just at the beginning when you're probably going out doing user groups and testing, etc. But as you evolve, customers change all the time. You guys will see this as well. And, customers' tastes change, and so your product has to continually evolve. And there's a lot better source of that than the we have 20 million users now. So what better way to get both customer feedback from the people, the hosts and guests that are using the product every day. So we try hard to do that.
One thing that's clear from talking to them, Paul, and everybody on the panel, is that feeling almost that it has to come from the top down, the founders down, that drive towards ensuring that you really are creating a beautiful product for your customer. Is that your experience? I mean, you work with so many different founders.
Yeah, I mean, we work with large technology companies and also with great startups. And again, what we look for across those companies, we want companies that are passionate about design, they're passionate about brand, and they're passionate about the consumer experience. Because only then can we add value. Otherwise, we're just adding costs to the process. And, for us, it's really important that we know we can add value. And we met somebody like Yonatan, he's got this idea for a Raspberry Pi computer. For us, what's different about it? Different about it is their care for the experience, the design. And again, when we were watching some of the reviews when people were unboxing the product, and it's as good as any of the large tech products you find in the bigger companies.
I have to say it is beautiful. We were unboxing it earlier. You should have a look if you get a chance. It's quite a nice example.
And that doesn't happen. That happens because people care about it. People think about the user experience.
Yeah.
One thing I know about Yonatan and the team is that they are really passionate about this.
Yeah, I got that right. Definitely. I'm just wondering, I mean, I hope it goes without saying, but should design be incorporated right from the very beginning of the process? And is it something you've just seen over this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were thrilled that NCAD participated in this event. For us, even now with our Highway 1 program, Marcus Gosling is one of the guys that we brought in to help on the design influence from the very start. And again, walking around the room here last night, I was looking at like where the company or the teams had embraced design. And and design is not just about making a beautiful product, it's also about being smart about how you use what resources you have. That's hugely important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just wondering where you all get your inspiration from. Just starting with you, Paul, when it comes to beautiful things and beautiful product design.
It's a kind of tricky question because it comes from kind of living and meeting people and traveling and seeing things and researching. But I mean, it doesn't come from me sitting down saying, I want to be creative now. It comes from just kind of, it's my lifestyle, and it's kind of, as I said, I've been doing it for such a long time that I'm always just looking at things and questioning. I take a lot of photos and observe. Communication is very important as well. Just kind of, when I get in the research into a project, that's quite a fascinating, because that's when you start to kind of collaborate and learn through other people's skills, and the idea you've had becomes so much better because you're layering it with other people's knowledge. But it's hard to pinpoint it precisely.
No, I understand. I see you're nodding, Yonatan.
Yeah, I'm nodding because I'm listening to Paul and I'm also talking to myself, so I agree. But I think for me it's really about, because when you ask the question immediately I was like, oh yes, there's this company and that company, and actually when I go back to basics, it's the collection of experiences across a lifetime, right? I mean, I keep telling this story to my girlfriend, and I have no idea why I keep repeating this story to her, which is when I was 8, I was preparing for school, and I was wearing these completely unrelated items with different colors, and I would go to the kitchen to prepare for going to the bus, and my mother would tell me, at the age of 8, you cannot do it like that. It doesn't match. Right? So already, at a very early age, I got the essence of aesthetics when it comes to color matching. And magazines and being exposed to furniture design at a very young age. And I was never a designer. I was never a painter. Not until today. I wouldn't know where to start. But I think some people come from that background, and I really come from the aesthetics, which you kind of have this sense of aesthetics to how you perceive something being approachable to a human being. And I think design is all about humanity. It's not about technology. It's not about physical object. It's really about how do you make something, either digital or physical, and it doesn't really matter, that people are just going to kind of slide in very naturally and not even feeling that they're using it.
And do you think we're in an era where engineers and designers work well together? Is there a tension there? Should there be? Any thoughts on that? You both.
I think there is a tension, but I think that's why it's really important that, for me, design is the beginning. Right? Engineering needs to accompany design, and I think in many companies, especially in the past, you would see a very, very strong engineering development, and only then design come and kind of put a box around it. And I think just the world has changed. We moved from a 1998 era where Amazon looks horrible, but you have to use it because it's the only place you can buy a book and actually get it, into a world where people still wait in the line to buy a phone that looks exactly the same. It's just at the size of a TV, right? And Apple just sold more computers actually since they started to sell the Macintosh. They sold more computers in the last quarter in their history. I mean, that's just incredible, and it shows that it's not about the practicality, it's about the experience and the consistency between the software, the hardware, the packaging. It's just,
But it's almost emotional, isn't it, when it comes to Mac? It's,
yeah.
And Apple, it's just bizarre.
Well, That hopefully will make this little kid go to sleep with the cat.
And you know all about it. I've got a product, am I right?
Yes.
At the back of my, it is incredible. Is Apple one of the brands that changed at all, do you think?
I think they've always put a very good focus on design and user experience, which is really important. But then when you talk about inspiration where it comes to, I think we're in a time now where there's been a huge renaissance in prototyping, which we've seen here this weekend. And that's really important for stimulating new ideas on hardware, because when you actually get that first prototype, that's when engineers and designers and entrepreneurs get excited when they see the first prototype and they actually see it working. That's where you kind of get, wow, that's a real moment of truth, that's an important one. So the renaissance in prototyping is actually driving the renaissance in hardware. So that's a really
It's very interesting, and it's why I suppose things like hardware are very important. I mean, is there more we could be doing in Ireland that way? I mean, is it fair dues to you guys for running this, but should there be more of this happening?
I think we're really excited because it's the second one of these in about 2 months, and it's great ECU supported this here, and also TD now, and Intel and all the other organizations that help design partners are great here. So for us, it's really exciting, and it's great. When we look at the trend we're seeing coming out of this hackathon, the previous hackathon here in Dublin, but also the hackathon we had in San Francisco about 2 months ago. They're very similar, and there's phenomenal opportunity there. We do say in business stage geography's history, so you have as much opportunity here as you do whether you're in China or whether you're in Silicon Valley, and it's about understanding that and taking advantage of it.
That's really nice to hear. You felt it was very little difference. Everyone tends to look at the valley and go, that's where all the exciting stuff is.
No, and I think that it's
not necessary.
And it's interesting when we look at when you can actually reduce the development time and reduce the amount of inventory that's taken up in the challenges, a lot of things are possible. And just looking at one of our companies just gone through here is Drop, was one of our candidates in the first Highway 1 plants, and their product is about to ship now. And I think it's about 13 months from when we started that process, where they entered the program, to when the product ships. These are 5 guys here in Dublin. We think we'll probably see Tom up there. He's afraid I'm going to say this, but we're looking at see how can we reduce that from 13 months down to about 4 months. That way, Tom. But we actually think it's going to become possible to do this, and I think the pace of product development is really picking up. But I'll get into how fast.
And coming back to you, actually, it's funny that you were talking about geography and history. We had this discussion earlier, because your role probably should officially be based in Silicon Valley, but here you are in Dublin. Like, geography has changed.
Yeah, I mean, we're in 190 countries and 36,000 cities. So, and most of the business is outside the US. So that has become a trend in more and more companies, and I think the realization is it doesn't matter where you start, like you were saying, but your business will go where consumers want to use it. So if that's in Europe or Asia, which are our 2 growth markets, then it's quite, I suppose, ahead of the times to kind of put global roles in from a HQ that's in San Francisco. But yeah, it's definitely shifting, I think, thought to making sure that we do have global thinking and we do have global design. So part of what we do is we don't have obviously the physical prototypes, but there's a lot of experiments that the design team run, and we run a lot. We're actually doing special experiments based on Asian customers and European customers and US customers. So there's a big focus now obviously in Asia. It's such a huge market, and untapped really for the large part for us. And so we're doing a lot of the equivalent of prototyping, but also much easier in the digital world to run A/B experiments there. So.
And you just spent 15 years in the Valley, and you're just back.
Yeah, so people do come back from America. So.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and lots of them have. But are you seeing that in Dublin? Like, are you impressed when you see things like?
I was amazed. I'm back about a year and a half, and I've been to Web Summit twice now. And I was amazed the first Web Summit that I was like, wow, Ireland has definitely changed in terms of just having an entrepreneurial culture. It was always there. It was quite difficult, right? But I think there's much more. There's a much more global view from here. It's become much more multicultural, I think, which has really helped. And also, I think there's a lot more of the foundation elements there to support entrepreneurs and to support innovation. So yeah, I think it's come on a long way since I left, so it's great.
Continue, Liam.
Yeah, actually, just one advantage that the US does have, it has 8 tech shops. We could do it, one good one here.
Oh, yeah.
Great to see Mark here. And I think that, the fact that they're looking at partnering with DCU, I think is going to give a huge advantage. If we could have a tech shop facility here, it would have a big impact, because, then you have access to the same equipment, and it's world class.
Yeah,
Great to have it.
it will be very exciting, no doubt about it. Can I just ask Paul and Yonatan at the end there, you're both based in London now, you're originally from Israel, Yonatan, am I right? What are the sort of things you think help these sort of companies that would have been hacking away here this weekend and with great ideas to get off the ground? And do you see it in London?
I think what London has for me is, this is just one side of what we do.
Yeah.
So the one thing that London's good for is to connect to press and journalists, and kind of really kind of publicise work, and that's always good. When you have a new idea, you can kind of meet 10 great journalists in an afternoon, if it's set up. But I think when it comes to kind of other types of ideas, if you can do people talk about Kickstarter a lot, and you can do a Kickstarter from anywhere. So, and you can talk to China from anywhere as long as you've got a computer. So, I think you don't need to be based in London. London, of course, has some wonderful things about it, but so does so many other places as well. So, I don't think it's just focused on London.
Yeah, tell the things that support entrepreneurs.
Well, I think for me it's slightly different, because I'm considered as one of these crazy people that left the second largest startup ecosystem in the world, which is Tel Aviv, and come to London, which is not as much as evolved. At least from where we started 2 years ago. I'll refer to that on 2 points. On one level, I think London to me represents, the place for globalization, because it's the bridge, it's the ideal bridge to East and West, for the very simple reason that if you want to be global, you go to the London Underground, and you're literally there. It's the only city in the world with more than 50% of the local population non-British or non-local. We're 25 people from 11 different nationalities, everyone based in the same office. It can only happen in London, I think. Maybe it can happen in other places, but I don't think it's that trivial because of hopefully it's not going to change now with what David Cameron wants to do with kind of capping the amount of immigrants. But I think also UK represents to me, a nation of storytelling. A lot of the great technological success stories on the invention level came from the UK, and then the Americans commercialized it, and which is an interesting point to reflect on. There is access to finance, and maybe more than anything else, London to me represents a place that is very global and gives you something in addition to being exposed to technology. I think the most beautiful thing I've recognized after almost 2 years of living in London, it doesn't change you. You can stay who you are, you can stay Israeli, Bangladeshi, Italian, or whatever it is that you are, and still enjoy the fruits of being part of a global city like London. And I think moving from 500 to 5,000 startups over the last 3 years, and Liam and his team can definitely say how many hardware startups are now kind of starting to evolve also in London because of the intersection of finance, technology, and industrial design that is very strong in the UK as well.
I think that diversity issue is really interesting as well, because as you say, London very much is that melting pot, but Ireland is changing. I know you mentioned it earlier when we were talking. How important is that, being the fact that now when we're looking around, we are seeing people from different countries. I don't know, we're based in the digital hub, like this, you go out for lunch and you can meet people from absolutely anywhere in the world. It surprises even me, because we were quite slow getting there, I think.
I think we definitely are there. I think, we'd say that geography is history, and that's a big part. Our people would be on planes traveling every week, and, so I think that's changing the way people think about business. Just life in general.
It's a great thing. I know over time, because we started over time. Is Claire there? Am I allowed to keep going?
One last question, the judge is underway.
Okay, perfect. Is there a question from the floor by any chance?
All very shy.
Come on, you must have some questions. Here we go.
The Airbnb, the bed. What model is that?
In the slumber palace here?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know.
That's actually Alice's one of the girls from the office, because Airbnb it's called, you said this before, that
Oh, that's
it's air
used
mattress. So we decided to go back to our roots. That's actually somebody's airbed from the office.
Oh, okay. Fine.
We're very scrappy serial entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Listen, I just want to say thanks a million to everybody here. Thanks a million, Paul. Thanks a million, Yonatan. Thanks a million, and Liam. It was too short, but thanks a lot for that.